And this hour of coverage from Radio Row brought to you by Blue Bear Plumbing. It's time to go back to the Raising Cane's guest chair with Dan Orlovsky. ESPN joins us. Dan, great to see you.
Great to see you. Great to hear that you guys are raising canes, huh?
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Have you had it?
Yes.
It is sensational. But there can't be a ton of them up in Mass.
There's one.
They're starting to pop up now.
There's one near BU.
Yeah. It's a new thing.
Yeah, it's always
The first time I had it was, I want to say it in Arizona at the Super Bowl, and I was like, okay, this is worth it. This is worth the talk.
It's sauce, man.
Yeah.
It's sauce.
Oh, and I'm not a fried food connoisseur, but it was legit.
Yeah. So, how you doing? First of all,
I'm great
to see you. Thank you again for coming on by.
My pleasure.
We loved your evolving take this year on Drake Maye. We love it.
Okay.
Because you're on. It sounds like you're on board now. You think Drake Maye is legit.
I feel like I was always on board with Drake Maye.
Maybe the timeline.
It was
is that what's evolved for you?
Do not play him. Do not play him. Do not play him.
Yeah, timeline.
Play him.
I was wrong on that. I was wrong on that.
We all are wrong on stuff.
Yeah, so I called Drake's games early on in college. And so, you saw, obviously, the family, kind of conversation, but you saw how talented he was. And then you saw some of the stuff that didn't really improve mechanically, and so that gave you a little hesitation, at least from my end. And then I just felt like the situation was not going to be great this year, so I was like, man, I just don't want them to ruin and get him on the field, and he takes a beating or he doesn't improve and all that stuff. I was wrong on that, and obviously playing him early, one, benefited him. I think, two, benefited for the organization to be like, whoa, timeout. This kid's really, really, really good. Is the path that we're going the best thing for him and for us? What do we need around him? So I do give them credit for that for sure.
Are you surprised how well he played? And I know the record doesn't indicate it 1-9, but
yes.
I thought calling the games, I see him get better week to week.
Yeah.
Given the fact that the state of the offensive line and the lack of weapons on the outside.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of work to do.
Oh, big time. But that's the benefit of playing him. I think that you see that. I think the things that I really liked about what I saw throughout the season, the number one thing, he never looked overwhelmed. He never looked rattled. He never looked flustered. He never looked, oh, gosh, this is a big deal. Mechanically, really improved. The feet were much improved. Not perfect, but much improved. I think the second thing that I liked was he did not do a lot of throwing people open in college football. He just didn't, because their offense was so RPO or just launch it downfield. And I think you saw a little of him throwing to covered guys. You know that, right?
Yeah.
This corner's on the back hip. Well, I could throw it upfield. Or this guy's playing behind, so I could back shoulder it. So
his deep ball's good.
Yeah, it's sensational. So, you saw that. I think you saw it get through some progressions. Again, not with stuff that he was asked to do a lot in college. So I'm all in on him. If I were them, I'm all in. I think he's got a chance to be a big time player.
How do you think Josh McDaniels helps with all this?
So when they hired Josh, I was a little hesitant, candidly, just because as good as Josh is and as smart as Josh is, I do think that to play quarterback at a really high level right now, your play scheme has to have a lot of the new age elements of football attached to him. And Josh's don't. He doesn't use a ton of pre-snap motion that impact. Information, yes. You motion it back out, it's man or it's zone, but impact information is changing the leverage of a defense or, creating a numbers advantage. Josh doesn't have a lot of that in his background. A lot of the quarterback run game, Josh doesn't have a lot in his background. And so I was hesitant in that regard. I do love the fact that they brought in Thomas Brown with him, because Thomas does. Thomas has been in Carolina when they did a little bit of that. He's been in Chicago last year taking over with Caleb. So I love the fact that they paired him with Josh. Josh obviously is a brilliant offensive mind. I think they'll be a little bit more play action centric, which I think bodes well for Drake Maye. They obviously have the people around it to do it, but I like the pairing of that.
If Mike Vrabel had taken the job in, let's say, Chicago or New York, is he hiring McDaniels to go there with him? It feels like the only reason McDaniels ends up...
Because it's New England?
Yeah, because it's New England and because it's the Patriots and that relationship that exists there.
That's probably a good question for him. Obviously there's a friendship there and a business, a professional respect that matters. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know who else necessarily was on his radar and interview list for that job.
It's funny because, I know Josh personally too. And just I get the Arthur Smith stuff, and when you're West Coast, did you run West Coast in Detroit?
We had 4 head coaches, so we ran a lot of stuff. But yes,
I mean, okay, but bulk of it, you had a lot of West Coast concepts.
yes, I grew up in that system.
See, I grew up in the Ernie Zampese, split right, scat right, going back to North Turner, and then we had the Earhart offense.
So numbers.
Charlie Weiss, yeah, all numbers.
Yep, 478. Yep.
868 arrows,
Sure,
flats. Yep.
sure.
It's just, I think as a quarterback, you see it and process it better. But I'm still trying to get it explained to me how the West Coast explains it better to the quarterback when you just tag a certain play. Like, we're going to go banana right.
Right.
Like, how do I know formation? How do I know?
Well, I think the West Coast has evolved. Like, the Shanahan and McVay stuff has become so much, their formations. Kyle's gotten to a point where he tells the receivers where their splits are. So, you'd go snug right numbers or something like that. So I think that the evolution of that is changed. I think the West Coast, we are in a time right now where the West Coast is like the West Coast has become almost the RPO. The West Coast was built upon numbers, space, quick completion, yards after the catch. The RPO is founded upon numbers, space, quick completion, yards after the catch. So I think a little bit of that has become kind of the same stuff. You're not running. One of the things that the West Coast was like 3 and out or 5 and out. We don't have that a lot in the NFL right now. If you're calling 3-step quick game, you're just calling an RPO. If you're calling 5-step quick game, you're calling more often than not like a choice route, or we don't. There's not quarterbacks going under center 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-yard out route. That's not really the name of the game in the league anymore.
We're talking with Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. We were talking to Craig Carton earlier, and he said, guys, when we're talking about Philadelphia and you're talking about Jalen Hurts, this guy doesn't get enough credit. Why doesn't he get enough credit as a quarterback? Why do people underrate him as a quarterback?
Well, I think he doesn't get enough credit as a quarterback the same way that a player like a Brock Purdy didn't get enough credit as a quarterback. It's the number one most dependent position in all of sports. And when you don't have the people to be dependent on to play at a high level, we say the quarterback sucks. And then when you do get the people to allow you to play at a high level, we say, well, you're a product of your environment. I think there's 2 levels to that situation, quarterback-wise. Are you good enough, if we're not really talented, to just keep us in the mix? Give us a fighter's chance. And then if we do have the people, can you get us to the Super Bowl? So you have to give Jalen credit for that and a Brock Purdy for credit for that. There's a factual reality. They have the number 1 offensive line in football. They have the number 1 running back in football who's on a historic pace. They have a top 3 wide receiver duo in football, and they have a number 1 defense in football. Those aren't opinion; those are facts. So a lot of people sit there and go, "Well, you should be able to win a ton of games because of that." The fact is that they've thrown the ball the least amount out of anybody in the NFL, and they've run the ball more than anybody in the NFL. Those aren't opinion; those are facts. You do have to give Jalen credit for playing well when he had to last week, managing the game, not giving the ball away. Because if you're the Eagles, you sit there and go, we got the best defense in ball. We got the best running game in football. You're going to have to beat us. The easiest way for you to beat us is for us to give you more chances to do it. Jalen, don't give the ball away. And he's become risk-averse, and you have to give him credit for doing that.
And you said when you don't have all the guys around you, can you keep us in? Is that the Chiefs right now? I don't look at the Chiefs and their receivers, their weapons for Mahomes, and it's not elite.
No.
Of course not.
Yeah, right?
That speaks to his greatness.
Yes.
Yeah,
But they're different. They're all different.
Yeah.
Like the
And
fact
they play
Juju
their role
could go
well.
back there and be successful, it's pretty impressive.
They all play their role really well. And when their role is called upon, they make the play.
What do you like in the game?
I like Kansas City just because 15.
Until you beat them.
I think that I think Spags and 15 give Kansas City at least the fighters chance to. I think if you're Philly and you don't have a 2-possession lead after 3 quarters, it's night-night Irene.
Yeah, and playing from behind is not what they want to be doing
Exactly.
in this game. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN, great to have you here
Dan,
today.
thank you.
Pleasure.
Good job,
Pleasure.
buddy.
It's good to see us.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.